What's going on, everybody? My name is Dope Gaming CQ, and I'm about to run a playthrough of Freedom 5, the board game. This game was on Kickstarter back in 2020. The deliveries just started occurring this year, just a couple weeks ago, actually, to be exact. Very excited to receive my copy. And right now what we're going to do is we're going to do a playthrough. I'm going to get right into it because I do know that there are a lot of people that have questions about rules and things like that, and I feel like I have kind of a good handle on things after doing quite a few run-throughs of these scenarios. I did already record an entire playthrough of scenario 3, and it got deleted off of my phone. That's a long story. I was pretty upset about that, so I would have had a video earlier, but that didn't work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from the very beginning, scenario 1, the tutorial, and show you guys how to run through this. That way there's no confusion. There's a couple of things that are still a little sketchy for me, but for the most part, I have everything down pat. If I do run into anything that you notice that I might have made a mistake, because I likely will. I am using an iPhone to record this, so there are likely going to be mistakes. I'm also going to have very limited hands to work with, obviously, too, because I do have one hand holding the phone to record this. So I do hope that you guys bear with me on this video. It may be a little longer than I hope it would be. The last one, the original one that I did go on pretty long. So I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible and informative as possible for you guys. That way you can understand the rules a little better. And we're gonna just go right into it right now. Before I begin, I do want to thank everybody who does watch this, because I do know that there are people that were also asking for playthrough videos that haven't been uploaded yet either. So I may be the first one. Hopefully, once again, this does give you guys what you asked for, and any other videos that you would like in the future. For example, if you wanted me to run through a scenario with other characters, I'll be glad to do that. If you wanted me to run through scenarios with different villains, different scenarios, different heroes, I would absolutely be more than happy to do that. I'll do content for hero reviews and hero guides and things like that as well, to help you guys understand how to play each hero a little better as well. I have a really good handle on these three, so this is why I chose them. They're pretty good together. I feel like they have a good synergy with each other. So we have Maya Montgomery, the Wraith. We have Paul Parsons, aka Legacy, and we have Tyler Vance, also known as Bunker. Those are our three heroes that we're going to be using for this playthrough. I do like to play three-handed, sometimes more. So a lot of people don't like doing that. And basically, for those who don't know, three-handed basically just means you're playing three different characters in a game, but you're by yourself. You're playing solo. So this is a solitary game, and I'm going to be going through it with all three of these characters. All right, so we're going to get right into it, into the setup. The setup here is in the basic rule book, page number 6. Now, if you're doing a campaign, you do want to follow the basic setup instructions in this rule book, as well as the instructions that would be in the Freedom 5 comic book scenarios that you are using. And we'll get into that very shortly. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to begin first with the setup activities for the basic instructions in your rule book, and that would be on page 6 and 7. All right, so I already started off, so it does say follow the steps below to set up a game of Freedom 5. The setup diagram shows a 3-player setup for scenario comic number 1, and you're going to follow these for every scenario comic, or if you're doing a standalone scenario, you're still going to follow these regardless, and then go into the scenario instructions. So the first step is set up the city. It says place the Megalopolis map in the center of the table and place the HQ board nearby. So here's the Megalopolis map, obviously, and this is what's called your HQ board. So you want to have that set up nearby. At first, when I first started playing, I was using the HQ board all the way up there above the main board, and I found that it was pretty difficult to reach over there. So I'm trying it at the bottom, and I've been having a little bit more of an easier time with that. So you can set it up any way you want. You could even set it up on the sides if you want, whatever is easier for you. The next step would be place henchmen. So you're going to place henchmen in each of the 30 locations in the city. Place 1 henchman meeple matching that location's color. For example, each green location starts with 1 green henchman. Place the remaining henchmen in a supply near the board, grouped by color. Basically, all they're saying there is to place 1 henchman in each of the locations, and each henchman has to match the color of the location. For example, number 26, South Island Freedome, has a green henchman in it, and that is because it is a green location. Just like Woodchuck Grove has a blue henchman in it, and that's because it is a blue location. So you want to follow the steps of putting 1 of each henchman color in each respective location, as you see here. All right, the next step would be gathering your dice and tokens, and that's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to shuffle the mastermind tokens with the numbers face down and stack them on the HQ board, which I did over here. These are your mastermind tokens. You want to make sure that they're face down. Each of these has a number on the bottom, so you want to shuffle them up. Basically, you're going to shuffle them up, and then you'll place them in the pile where it's designated with that icon. All right, and then you would set aside the anarchy tokens. So that's what I did. I set those aside over here, because for the anarchy tokens, instructions are actually given for those during these scenarios. That way it's a little more easier to navigate through. So the next one here is stacking the bystander tokens on the HQ board. You don't need to shuffle those because there's nothing on the other side of those. Then you would pile the red, blue, green, and yellow dice in a common space on the table, which I've done over here. You're gonna pile the generic counters nearby, and your generic counters are your villain damage tokens, but you can also use them to track your justice card progress as well. All right, then we're gonna go to the next step, which is place all hero damage tokens in the cloth bag nearby, which I've done. This is your cloth bag. You wanna have your damage tokens in this bag and shuffle them up a little bit inside that bag so that they're randomized. Then we have the next step, prepare decks. You're gonna shuffle the following decks and place them on the designated spaces of the HQ board. So that would be your scheme cards. So you're gonna shuffle up the scheme cards. You are going to remove and set aside all Justice Rules and Night cards before shuffling. So these are your Justice Rules and Night cards. And what I've come to learn is that each scenario is going to have you set aside a certain number of those cards. So the first scenario is going to ask you to set aside 6, and there are a total of 6 that come with your core game of these cards. So you're going to set these aside. There are going to be instances, there are going to be scenarios that are going to ask you to set aside 5. And my understanding of that is this is to adjust the difficulty of the scenario. So you're going to remove 1 from the game altogether for those scenarios that are asking you for less Justice Rules the Night cards. And we'll get into that step very shortly so that you know what I'm talking about a little bit better. So the next step here is Anarchy cards. You're going to shuffle all 4 colors together. So we have that over here. These are your Anarchy cards. And we shuffled all of the colors together and put them in their designated place. Then you're going to go with the Freedom Tower Anarchy cards. You want to set those aside. I have those set aside over here. Your Bystander cards are next. So your Bystander cards go over there, and this is pretty self-explanatory. Bystander cards, Justice cards, Special cards, they each have their own location on the HQ board as well. You're going to shuffle those up and put them where they belong. All right. Then you're going to choose your game mode. We are obviously choosing campaign, but you can also do free play, which doesn't require for you to go from one scenario straight on to the next and get upgrades and things like that. But we are, for the purposes of my videos, I will be going through the campaign. That way I can teach people how to go through the campaign a little better and maneuver through it. So the next step here is to select your heroes. Each player selects a hero and takes their hero loadout. And that would be 1 hero board, 1 character card, 1 hero figure, 24 ability cards, 3 personal task cards, 5 action tokens, and any additional materials listed on your hero board. So this is your hero board. We have Legacy here. What they're saying when they say any additional materials listed on the hero board, they're talking about this here. For those who don't know and aren't aware, this is what they're talking about here. So some heroes, for example, the Scholar, I believe Chrono Ranger, they all have extra things about them. So you'll see that here, and they want you to bring those with you to the table for your hero that you're selecting. Okay, so you have your deck. This is going to be your hero deck of ability cards. Here are your personal task cards. These are your action tokens. For Paul Parsons' Legacy in particular, he has his own dice that he uses called the Legacy dice, and we'll get into that one shortly. And as you can see, that's one of those additional materials that he needs in particular. All right, so then it says place your character card with the private life side up in the center of your hero board. So we're gonna take the private side and place that right there as such for each of the heroes that we're using. And that's basically how you're gonna set them up. Okay. All right, then it says stack your action tokens in the available action slot at the top of your hero board. That is the available action slot. The next one would be shuffle your ability cards and personal task cards and place each deck face down near your hero board, which we have already done here. And I like to have them set up here. That way I can just discard right underneath. But you can do it any way you want, any way that gives you room. This seems to be the way that gives me the most room possible. As you can see, this is a very large game. It does take up a lot of space, so much so that I have the rule book here covering a little bit of bunker stuff, but we'll be removing that very shortly. All right, so the next step says to place your hero figure in one of the home base locations listed on your hero board. So we're gonna look on the hero board, and it does say here for Bunker's home base, Hero HQ number 15 and Workshop Avenue number 1 are his home base locations. So you can either put Bunker at number 1 or number 15. All right, so that is one example. Paul Parsons, his HQ is Freedom 5 headquarters, or Freedom Tower HQ. And the Wraith, her base is Montgomery Industries, and her other base is Hero HQ number 15. The reason why I have them in different locations, even though they all share Freedom Tower as their home base as well, is because I want to spread them out. That way they cover more ground during the game. The next step would be to draw a starting hand of 4 ability cards from your deck. Since you're on a team with other players, you may choose to display your ability cards face up or hold them in your hand. There's our 4 cards. Once again, I'm covering up Bunker, so I do apologize, but those are our 4 cards that we drew. Then you're going to draw 1 special card and 1 justice card and place them face up in the designated slots at the bottom of your hero board. Place your special card in the leftmost slot. So there are special rules, and this is important to note, for dealing justice and special cards in the tutorial. For the tutorial in particular, you're not gonna draw any special cards for your heroes to begin with. You will be able to draw special cards when the events occur that required for it. For example, some anarchy cards, when you resolve them, they'll allow you to draw a special, and you'll be able to do that then. But initially, they do not want you to put any specials out onto your hero boards, and we'll get into that shortly. Then we're gonna determine the first player. If Legacy is one of the heroes, he chooses who will be the first player. If Legacy is not one of the heroes, the players mutually decide who will be the first player. And that is pretty much up to you, the player. If you wanted to go by that rule, you can. This is Legacy. If you have Legacy on your team, whoever's playing as Legacy can choose who the first player is. Since I'm the only one playing, I will be using the Wraith as my first player. And the reason for that is because she has an ability on her personal life side, Chauffeur Limousine, that allows me to strategically place everyone where they need to be. It's a very powerful ability, so I like to have her leading off. All right, then we have scenario setup. Read the instruction to the scenario comic you chose and follow the scenario setup instructions to prepare the villains, anarchy tokens, and mastermind track, and other scenario specific setup. So we're gonna go ahead and move on over to that. All right, so here is the scenario setup. We are going to, once again, we're gonna start off with the tutorial scenario. Each scenario is gonna have small little comic panels to kind of describe what's going on. It'll also have a little narrative up on the top, kind of to give you an idea of what's going on during this scenario, and give a little flavor to the game. So this is what you're going to do after the basic setup instructions. So there are 2 sets of instructions that you will follow during the campaign version of things. So if you are playing the campaign, you're going to do the basic setup that we did earlier, and then you're going to follow up by doing the scenario setup. So the first step is difficulty settings. it shows here, use the following difficulty settings for this tutorial. You're going to set aside 6 of the Justice Rules and Night cards. Do not shuffle them into the scheme deck yet. The second step says perform the following unique steps for this tutorial. Do not deal special cards to heroes. Instead of dealing random Justice cards to heroes, you're going to search the deck for the following 4 cards, which are Night Patrol, Freedom 5 Unite, Restore Order, and Not on My Watch. You're going to also draw 1 random Justice card for a total of 5. Then you will shuffle them together and deal 1 to each hero. Then shuffle any that weren't dealt back into the deck. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to search up these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to search up these 4 cards from this deck here, the Justice deck. And then we will also draw 1 random Justice card for a total of 5. We're going to shuffle them together and deal 1 to each hero. I'm back, and these are the 4 Justice cards that you want to draw, or actually not draw, but search for. You want to search these out in the deck, and then you are going to draw 1 random. So we got Wild Animals. We have 5 of these. Then we're going to shuffle these, just these 5 together. And then we are going to deal out 1 of these cards to each hero. So each hero is going to get 1 of these cards. So I will be right back. I'm going to shuffle these up real quick and deal these out to each hero to show you how that looks. So after you deal out the Justice cards, it should look like this. You want the Justice card on the right hand side where it says Justice. That's where you want your card to be dealt. All right, and those are the Justice cards that we drew from that 5 card little pile that we made. So we have Night Patrol, we have Freedom 5 Unite, and we have Not on My Watch. You do not want to draw special cards for this scenario. However, when the situation does call for it, you are always going to draw a special card and place it in the leftmost slot. There are 3 slots for specials or Justice cards. You won't usually need more than 1 for Justice cards. I have never ran into a situation where I had needed more than 1 slot for Justice cards, but whenever you draw special cards, once you start filling these up, you're gonna want to fill them up left to right. The next step is the Mastermind. It says here, no Mastermind is used in this tutorial. So usually you're gonna have your non-Mastermind villains, and then you will have a more powerful Mastermind to work with. But for this particular scenario, we're not going to be fighting a Mastermind. All right, so then we have villains. Place the following villain cards next to the map. Each villain's figure you want to place on their card. So we have Proletaria and Ermine. And right here are Proletaria and Ermine. You're going to set up their villain cards. What I did was I set them up on this side here for easy access. Then it says here, scheme cards, draw 1 scheme card and resolve steps 1 through 3, ignoring villain movement and the event. Then shuffle the reveal card and all Justice Rules and Night cards you set aside earlier into the deck. So we're going to do that now. We're going to draw 1 scheme card and resolve steps 1 through 3. Right here is the scheme deck. You're going to draw 1 scheme card, and that one's showing that it wants a green henchman in number 20. So we're going to do that. We're going to put a green henchman in the location marked number 20, which is the Ekin Rubendahl Laboratories. It also wants a Mastermind token in that location. So we're going to take one of those tokens here, and we're going to place it in the laboratories. All right, the next step is 2 yellow henchmen at number 13. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 henchmen here, in location 13. And the last one here says, move a villain of your choice to Freedom Tower. This is actually not going to occur because once again, these scenario steps do say that you're gonna follow steps 1 through 3, but you're gonna ignore villain movement in the event. So that is considered villain movement. We're gonna ignore that, and we're also gonna ignore the event portion of this card. So all it wants you to do is the steps here that do not involve moving the villain. All right, now for the anarchy tokens that were set aside, you're gonna stack 4 blue, 4 green, and 4 purple anarchy tokens onto the hero HQ board. You're gonna place 1 purple token on each of the following: Zhang Park number 3 and Dodge Beach number 29. So let's go ahead over here, and they want 4 blue, 4 green, and 4 purple. So we're gonna take 4 blue, we're gonna place them in their spot here on the HQ board. 4 green, all right, that's gonna go on the HQ board, and then they want 4 purple. So we're gonna take 4 purple tokens and we're gonna place them on the HQ board. So it should look like that. And then we're gonna take these red and just set them aside because we're not gonna need them for this scenario. Then the next step here does say to place 1 purple token on each of the following number 3 Shane Park and number 29 Dodge Beach. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 purple token at Dodge Beach, or sorry, Dodger Beach, and then the other purple anarchy token at number 3, which is Shane Park over there. All right, so that's how your anarchy token should look for this scenario to start off. Okay, the next step says bystander tokens. Place 1 bystander token on each of the following: Bower Bridge Arc number 12 and Central Bridge number 16. So we want to put 1 bystander token on each of those locations, number 12 and number 16. Number 12 and number 16, the Central Bridge. Okay. Next step, number 8, says place 1 mastermind token on each of the following: Workshop Avenue number 1 and Port of Megalopolis number 30. So we're gonna go ahead and place a mastermind token on each one of those locations. Number 1, where Bunker is, and number 30. That would be the Port of Megalopolis location. All right. And lastly, the last step here is to place plot tokens on spaces 4 and 7, and then place the mastermind marker on start. And right here is the mastermind track. What it wants you to do is you have these plot tokens that come in the box. They want you to place plot tokens on spot 4 and 7. So right there's spot 4, right there's spot 7. You want to have them on top of those 2 slots, and then you want to have the mastermind token at the start, obviously. Okay, and this is pretty much the setup. You do want to shuffle the Justice Rules the Night cards back into the deck. So before we go any further, they do want you to shuffle in the Justice Rules the Night cards along with the scheme card that you drew back into the deck before starting the game. So we're going to shuffle these and I'll be right back. We shuffled in the Justice Rules the Night cards back into the deck along with the initial scheme card that we drew. It does say here that each chapter has an objective that you can complete to advance to the next one. If you advance to the final chapter and complete its objective, the heroes win. As you play, you must keep henchmen, anarchy tokens, and mastermind tokens under control. If the supply of Mastermind or Anarchy tokens starts to run out, the Mastermind track will advance, and we definitely do not want that because once it reaches 10, the heroes will lose. So once you're done with this setup, at the bottom of the page here, it does usually have instructions here that you would follow. So in this case here, it says you are ready to start. Turn the page and read chapter 1. Good luck. So we're going to go ahead and turn the page, and this is where you're going to refer to the different activities that occur during the scenario. It does say that you don't want to look at these until you reveal Mastermind tokens, just so that it kind of keeps with the theme. You don't know exactly what's going to happen until it happens. You know, it's kind of like supposed to be a surprise. You also want to read these key concept reminders. If at any time you get confused, it does offer some advice on certain things during the course of the game. So we're going to focus down here. Each scenario is going to have, each chapter to each scenario is actually going to have its own set of end of turn villain phase activities. And one of the things that I've noticed that changes is step 3. Sometimes you will draw one scheme card and resolve steps 1 through 3, or sometimes you will draw 2 schemes cards and you'll resolve a number of different steps, or they might make you skip a step. So pay attention, pay very close attention to the 3rd step. Every time you turn the page and get to a new chapter, that is going to change and usually get worse as chapters progress. So it'll make things a little more difficult as you progress from chapter 1 through chapter 3 of each of the scenarios. As I've noticed, at least with this book so far, each scenario comes with 3 chapters. Each scenario requires for you to, each chapter requires for you to complete an objective, and it also on the other side here will have the requirements if you fail the objective. So always pay attention to the bottom here. It's gonna give you the instructions on how you win or lose, and how you would advance to the next chapter. Usually from chapters 1 and 2, you're not gonna lose the game if you fail to complete the objective. And usually it's gonna set you on a timer. For example, this one side will tell you to complete an objective, and the other side will say to turn this page when, for example, with this one here, turn the page when the chapter objective is complete or the Mastermind track reaches 4. So what that means is once it gets to the 4th, once this reaches the 4th step here on the Mastermind track, you're just going to remove the plot token and replace it with that Mastermind token, and you would turn the page. So you really want to make sure that you are completing these, because sometimes they do give you added bonuses at the end. If you do not complete those, usually it's gonna make things a little more difficult for you in the next chapter. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna begin, because everything is already set up, and you would begin each game with the hero turn. So the hero that we're going to start off with is the Wraith. Before we do begin this, however, I do want to once again thank everybody for watching. This is not easy for me. Once again, I am using a phone, and I appreciate whoever has the patience to watch this video. I would appreciate as well if you would like and subscribe, and also comment down below if you want to see more content from me. I will be once again more than glad to release more content if people are actually interested in this kind of video from me. I would like to be your source for the Freedom 5 board game, if possible. And I would also, you know, the more likes and subscribers I get, the more popularity my channel gains. Maybe I could afford better equipment and invest in better equipment and things like that to make your videos a lot more interesting to watch and easier to digest. But once again, I do thank you guys, whoever does watch this video. We are going to begin in a moment here with the gameplay. All right, everybody, so here's what we're going to do. Before I begin, I do want to explain the chapter 1 objective. So the chapter 1 objective is asking you to clear the justice cards that we just placed on each character board here. So basically what you're going to do for the first objective is you want to clear these justice cards. All right, so we're going to get straight into it. The first player is the Wraith, aka Maya Adriana Montgomery, and we are going to be in with her. She has an ability here called Chauffeured Limousine. This is what I was talking about earlier. It allows her to strategically position the characters anywhere on the board. So it says once per turn, move any number of heroes from one location to any other location. So looking at this board right now, I see a few things that I want to take care of, and you still want to go through the motions of completing things like the anarchy tokens and things like this, because it's all going to carry over from chapter to chapter until the end of the scenario. So you want to get that out of the way while you're completing the justice tasks. So let's go ahead and take a look at the board and see what we're going to do. Looking at Wraith's hero board here, she has the justice card that says, not on my watch. The mastermind is messing with the wrong heroes, and you want to remove 2 mastermind tokens throughout the board. Currently, there are 3 on the board, 1 on location 30, 1 on location 20, and 1 on location 1. So I decided to keep Wraith at Montgomery Industries. She's close to location 20. We're going to clear those henchmen out, or attempt to at least, and then we're going to interact with the mastermind token. So in order to interact, it shows here, you got to make sure that there are no henchmen in the location in order to interact with an anarchy or mastermind token there. So that is why we are going to first remove the henchmen in order to interact with the mastermind token. So I'm going to spend an action first before anything in order to use her recover ability, Montgomery Industries Research and Development. It says once per turn, if at Hero HQ number 15 or Montgomery Industries number 27, draw 5 ability cards. Choose 1 color to keep and discard the rest. I'm going to do some of these things off camera, so don't mind me. Once again, I have to hold the phone on one hand, so a little bit of this stuff I'm going to have to do off camera. So just bear with me on that. All right, so we drew these 5 cards: Utility Belt, Combat Prowess, Utility Belt, and Utility Belt. And it looks like what we're going to do is we're going to keep the green cards. It does say that you choose 1 color to keep and discard the rest. There is only 1 red card here, so we're going to discard that one, and we're going to keep the green ones in our hand. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to flip over to hero form. And then we're going to use this card here. It's called Out of the Shadows. One thing to note is there is going to be an icon on some of these cards, and that icon says that you must use an action token in order to resolve these cards. Some don't. For example, Combat Prowess does not have that action token symbol, so you can use cards like this as free actions. But these cards, you definitely needed to use an action in order to resolve these cards. So this card says move up to one location and remove one henchman there. So I am going to use an action to play this card. It will go in my discard pile, and I will move with the Wraith to location 26 and remove the henchman there. And that's how Out of the Shadows works. The next thing we're going to do is I will use another action token, and this is for her move ability, which is called Sprint. Move up to 2 locations. We're going to move into location number 20. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to movement and other things that you will see in the near future, hopefully, for adjacent locations, when you're moving around, you have to move through adjacent locations. For example, number 27 Montgomery Industries is adjacent to South Island Freedom. South Island Freedom is adjacent to number 20 Arcane Wonders Laboratories. This location is adjacent to this one, and so on and so forth. Now, the scenarios where they wouldn't be considered adjacent would be something like this. So number 26, South Island Freedom, and City Hall are not considered adjacent locations. Whenever they are joined by a point like that, you do not want to consider these adjacent locations. So I would not be able to move Wraith from here to here without going through Montgomery Industries first, in other words. So I just wanted to go over that very briefly. Now that we are in Arcane Wonders Laboratories, I want to spend an action token to make an attack action to attack all henchmen in my location. And pay attention to these icons on the right hand side of your hero board. You can only perform these actions with the designated side of your hero card. So for example, that recover ability that we used earlier, we cannot use that recover ability in hero form. So that's why I did that to begin with when I was in my personal life form with Wraith, because if I would have switched forms, I would not have been able to use that ability. Some of these have both icons. For example, the move sprint, and from what I know, most of the heroes are going to have both icons for their movement. So just pay attention to those icons. All right, so we're gonna make that attack action on these 2 henchmen, which means I have to grab the same amount of dice as there are henchmen in that location, and we will simply roll and test the attribute matching the color of the henchman, which in this case is the mind attribute, and it is Wraith's strongest attribute at a 3+. So note these numbers here on the left-hand side of the hero board. These are your hero attributes, and each one of these is going to have a number. The higher the number, the worse they are at whichever attribute it is. For example, body for Wraith is a 5+, which means she would have to have a 5 or a 6 in order to succeed on body tested attributes rolls. So on the other hand, mind is her strongest, so all she needs is a 3 or higher in order to succeed per dice. So to demonstrate how that works, we're gonna go ahead and roll real quick. And we rolled 2 5s, which both obviously exceed the number 3. So she got 2 successes, which means she successfully defeated 2 henchmen, both henchmen in that area. And now that the location is clear, we're gonna go ahead and interact with that mastermind token. So let's go ahead and take a look at the interact instructions. It says, if no henchmen are in your location, interact with an anarchy or mastermind token there. This is going to require an action token. So we're going to use an action token in order to interact with that mastermind token. And we are out of actions after we do this. So in order to interact with a mastermind token, you're simply going to flip it over and you're going to refer to the scenario comic on the page or the chapter that you're at and see what that number represents. It's going to represent an event that occurs during the game. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that now. All right, so number 3 says system crash. Police defense systems are going haywire. Have they been hacked? You're going to roll 3 dice and test your tech attribute. And you need 2 or more successes on those 3 dice. It says, with some quick thinking, you discover the source of the cyber attack. Remove an anarchy token of your choice from the city. So we're gonna go ahead and roll 2 dice and test tech, we're gonna roll 3 dice to test the tech attribute of Wraith. And it shows here that her tech attribute is a 4+. So we're going to roll 3 dice and we need to get at least 2 successes on those 3 dice, which isn't going to be very likely. So hopefully we can do this. Oh, we got it. All right, so we got a 5 and a 6. So we have our 2 successes. So we refer back to the book and it says on 2+ successes, once again, with some quick thinking, you discover the source of the cyber attack. You're going to remove an anarchy token of your choice from the city. So we have 2 anarchy tokens, one on number 3 and one on number 29. So I'm going to remove this anarchy token here. And then once you resolve the mastermind token, you're simply going to put it back with the others and shuffle them back up and place them back. So with that completed, that actually triggers the not on my watch justice card. It says remove 2 mastermind tokens. So we're going to track our progress. It says here, place counters here to track your progress. When you have 2, take a justice action in any location to resolve this card. So usually you'll use these. I prefer to use dice to track the progress. So I'm just going to take a dice and put it there just to let me know I completed one of those mastermind token requirements for this justice card. All right, so it is now the end of Wraith's turn. So we're gonna refresh her tokens. The next step is actually to check, the game wants you to check to see if there are any henchmen in the location of your hero. And if there are, they would each do 1 damage to your hero. However, the Wraith has the ability called Stealth, which henchmen do not attack you during the villain phase of your turn. So even if there were henchmen in this location, they would not attack her. All right, so after we get past that part of the villain phase, the next part of the villain phase is actually to draw 2 cards. Okay, so we're gonna draw 2 cards. And these are the cards that we drew, Smoke Bomb and From the Shadows. And we would just add that to our hand. And then the last step is to draw a scheme card. So with the scenario comic, it does tell you to draw a scheme card, one scheme card, and you're going to resolve steps 1 through 3. So we're going to resolve steps 1, 2, and 3, and we would also only resolve the good results on the events at the bottom. So this is usually when it's red, it's a bad result. So you're not going to resolve those results for the purposes of chapter 1. You're simply going to go through the first 3 here. So it says what we're going to do is, for the first step, we are going to place 1 blue henchman on 25 over here. And we are also going to place a bystander on this location as well. So it would look like that. Then the next step would be place 1 green henchman on 26, which is right next to it. So we place a henchman there. And then the last step is place 1 yellow henchman on 17. So we're gonna go ahead and look for 17 over here. And we will simply place a henchman there. All right, looking at the rules for this scenario, this is where it's important to look at these purple, the key concept reminders. In the villain movement area, it does state villains move as a result of scheme cards, combat abilities, and scenario effects. When a villain moves to a new location, activate their movement ability unless instructed otherwise. When instructed to move a villain that is not currently in the city, you ignore that effect. All right, so these 2 villains are currently not in the city, so we are going to ignore that effect. Okay, so I'm going to create my discard pile here for the scheme cards, and we are going to move forward with Legacy's turn. So Legacy is currently in his personal life form, and we are at location number 15, Freedom Tower. So what we're going to do first, before anything, is we're going to use his Sense Danger ability, which says once per turn, look at the top scheme card, then discard it or place it back on top of the deck. So we're going to go ahead and take a peek at the scheme card, and we can decide to either discard it or put it back on top of the deck. I'm going to discard it because this one contains a bad result at the end, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to sift through the scheme deck to get the good ones, because we are able to resolve the good results on those events at the end. So we're going to go ahead and discard that, and we are going to remain in our personal life form. I'm having a little bit of focus issues. I apologize for that. We're going to remain in our personal life form, and we are going to use his ability here that says Recover Training. Once per turn, if at Hero HQ number 15, draw 3 ability cards. Now this ability in particular does not require for Legacy to be in either or form. He can be in any one of those forms. He can be in his personal life or his hero form in order to resolve this ability. So we're going to use his recovery to draw 3. 1, 2, we got Flying Smash, that is a great card, and 3, Surge of Strength, also a great card. So in order to utilize that ability, however, you do have to use an action token. All right, so now that we have that completed, we are going to flip over to our hero mode for Legacy. We are going to spend an action token, and we will move over to location number 3, where that Anarchy token is. And the goal here is to interact with that Anarchy token, before we do that, we do have to clear the location of the henchmen that are there. So there is a green henchman there. So I will get 1 green dice to attack that green henchman. I do have to use an action token in order to make that attack. I also get to use the legacy dice because it does show here. Legacy has an ability called Heroism. When you roll an attack or attribute test, also roll the legacy die. It is considered wild. In other words, it counts as any color. So we're rolling these 2 dice and testing our mind attribute, which is a 4+. So we're going to try to get a 4+ to get rid of that henchman. And one of those dice indeed came up as a 5, and we will be able to remove the henchman as a result. So once the henchman is removed, you just place them back in the pool on the side. Now that we have the henchman cleared, we are going to interact with that anarchy token. So the interact action is going to require to use an action token. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through this deck one by one until we find the specified color. In this case, it was a purple, so it can be any color that you choose. So I am going to search for a red anarchy because it is Legacy's best attribute. So we're going to draw this card, and the cards that you sift through, you put them simply on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so we have the red anarchy card, and we are going to flip it over and see what it says. It says, a fire rages in a nearby building. Desperate screams for help can be heard from those trapped inside. We're going to roll 5 dice to test body. Okay, so we have 4 there, and I'm going to use my counter here, and I'll just replace it for the moment with one of the generic ones, so that way I could use these. So it's going to require 5 dice to test body. You also get the legacy die because it does show here that it's not just for attack rolls, it's also for attribute rolls. So we're testing body, and the aim is to get 3+ successes. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes on this. So we did get 3+ successes. So it does say you save the people and extinguish the fire, draw 2 bystander cards and gain the rewards. All right, so we put these dice back where they belong, and we draw 2 bystander cards and gain the rewards immediately. The first one is a business executive. There are no rewards. However, she does have an icon here on the top left corner. If you collect enough cards that have those icons equaling out to 2, you can cash them in for a special card. And that's where you will be able to begin filling out your special area. The second bystander is Lake and Dylan. And this one says, draw a justice card and place it face up in your rewards pile. So what that means is you're going to take one of these justice cards and place it face up in the justice rewards pile as if you completed that justice card. Okay, so focusing back over here on Lake and Dylan, they do have 2 icons here on this card by itself. So we're going to cash in this, which means we're just going to simply discard that card, and then we are going to cash it in for a special. The special is police support. It says play at any time, choose any one location, and remove 1 henchman, 1 anarchy token, and 1 mastermind token there. So we're going to add this to Legacy's hero board on the very left special slot. And when the time comes, if we need it, we will use that card. All right, so we have one action left. Let's see what we want to do here. What we are going to do is we are going to use the police support card right now. We have on location number 1, we have a henchman and a mastermind token. We have a henchman and a mastermind token on location 30 as well. So we will be able to remove 1 henchman, 1 mastermind, and 1 anarchy token in any one location. So we're going to do that here. There are no anarchy tokens, but there is a henchman token and there is a mastermind token. So we're going to remove that and we're going to put it on the mastermind stack. For my last action, I'm going to use bolster allies. This ability card does require I use an action token in order to perform this action. So we are out of actions after that. So this card says each hero may heal 1 damage or draw 1 ability card. All right, so put that in the discard pile, and we're just going to simply draw a card for each of our heroes. We got Omni Blast for Bunker. Omni Blast is a great card. All right, so that's the end of Legacy's turn. So we're going to refresh his tokens. The game wants you to check for any henchmen. There are no henchmen in the location to attack Legacy. Then we are going to draw 2 cards, Surge of Strength and Inspiring Presence. And the last step is going to be to draw a scheme card and resolve the first 3 steps. So this one actually is a Justice Rules the Night card, so nothing occurs. What that says is no henchmen are placed and no villains move. Draw no more scheme cards. All right, so his turn is now over and we're going to move over to Bunker. Bunker has a justice card. I want to focus in on this, called Night Patrol. Take to the rooftops, streets, and alleys to instill fear in the criminals of the city. And all this wants you to do is remove 1 henchman of each color. Legacy's justice card is Freedom 5 Unite. We need to put our heads together. While all heroes are at the same location, take a justice action and choose a color. Each hero may discard up to 2 ability cards of that color. The reason why I didn't bring that up is because we're not going to get to that card just yet. But this one, we are likely going to be interacting with this one right away. So we're going to begin in our personal life with Tyler Vance. He has an ability called Tactical Planning, which says once per turn, choose 1 hero to draw 3 ability cards and keep all cards of 1 color. You may move to any location matching the color they choose. So I'm going to choose Bunker for this. It says choose 1 hero to draw 3 ability cards, and you can choose yourself. So I will choose Bunker. I'm going to draw 3 ability cards and choose 1 color. So I have yellow, red, and blue, and I'm going to choose the yellow one, Adhesive Foam Grenade, because these cards here are really good as well. I'm going to keep that, and then you discard the rest. And the other part of his ability says that you can move to any location that matches the color that you choose. And I'm already in a yellow location, so I'm choosing not to move at all, but I could move into any of the locations that have the yellow on them. So since we are here at Megalopolis University, we are going to make an attack action. Before that, I do have to flip over to hero form into Bunker. I'm going to make an attack action, which requires an action token. And we are going to attack these 3 henchmen here. So it's going to be 3 dice, 1 dice per henchman. And let's take a look and see what the results are. It comes out to a 6, a 4, and a 3. Bunker's best attribute is tech, and that's why I placed him there with Wraith's ability, so that way he could take care of those henchmen. So focusing back on Night Patrol, it does say remove 1 henchman of each color. Place henchman you remove here to track your progress. When you have all 4, take a justice action in any location to resolve this card. So we're gonna remove these 3 henchmen. However, one of those henchmen are going to go onto the Night Patrol card to signify that we removed 1 henchman of that color. For our next action, I'm going to use the ability card here called Snapshot Missiles. It says remove all henchmen from an adjacent location. It does require an action, so we're going to use an action token in order to play this card, and we're going to remove all henchmen from an adjacent location. So here is a good example of what is and isn't an adjacent location to Bunker. This is an adjacent location. This location here is an adjacent location. Location number 10 is not adjacent to location number 13 because they join at a point right here. Okay, and it does explain that in the rule book. So refer to the rule book if you want to look into that a little bit further. So we're going to use the snapshot missiles to remove this henchman here in the Megalopolis Stock Exchange, and he will simply get put onto the Night Patrol Justice card. So we still need a red and a blue one, and then we will perform a Justice action in order to resolve that card. Okay, the next action I'm going to take is I'm going to move over to Montgomery Industries and try to take out that henchman right there. So it's going to require for me to trudge my way over there. Bunker is the worst when it comes to moving. He can only move 1 location at a time. So we're going to spend an action token to trudge to City Hall. Then we're going to spend another action token to do that again. I'm going to show you how this works here. So he has this ability card called Omni Blast. And this ability card says discard 1 other Omni Blast card to remove all henchmen from your location and deal 1 damage to a villain here. Now, I wouldn't recommend wasting this card for this, but since I know for the most part how to work with Bunker, I am going to use this for the purposes of clearing Night Patrol. So we do need to discard another Omni Blast. So in order to use Omni Blast, you have to discard another Omni Blast in order to perform the card. And it does have an action token symbol, so we do have to use an action token in order to perform this card. It will remove the henchman in this location. If there was a villain or mastermind in that location, they would take a damage as well. And then we're going to go over here and we are going to place that blue henchman on this Justice card, and then all we need is the red one in order to complete it. The reasoning for me using that card, Omni Blast, is because Bunker's spirit attribute is terrible. So I wanted to kind of override that and just get that out of the way instead of spending a million actions trying to get rid of 1 henchman for the purposes of this video. So his turn is over. We're going to refresh his tokens. We are going to check for henchmen. There are no henchmen. Even if there were henchmen, each time you suffer damage, you would block 1 damage and deal 1 damage to the villain or henchman that attacked you. There is a little bit of confusion on this rule on whether or not Bunker would remove all 3 or 2 henchmen that would be in his location, because it does say here that each time you suffer damage, you would block 1 damage. For the purposes of this tutorial, and for me in particular, I am going to perform this as I feel it was intended, not as it was written. I feel that it was intended, for example, if there were 3 henchmen in this location, each one would deal damage to him, and he would deal 1 damage back to one of the henchmen there. That's how I feel that the rule was intended, but until we get an FAQ out, this is how I'm going to play. People may be right that say that he would get rid of all 3 or 2, whatever the case may be, that would be on that location. But this is how I'm going to play it. All right, so we checked for henchmen. There are no henchmen. We draw 2 cards. We got full throttle, and we got a satellite intel. The last part of the villain phase, of course, is going to be to draw a scheme card. And this one is showing, for the first step, 1 yellow henchman is going to go onto location number 9, which is the North Park Zoo over here. All right. And then we also want to place a mastermind token in that location. So we're going to place a mastermind token in that location as well. Then we want 2 blue henchmen on 6. All right, so we got 2 more henchmen there on location 6. And then the last one is showing 1 green henchman on 8. Okay. And since the villains are not on the board, they will not move, and we are only resolving the good events at the end for the purposes of this tutorial's rules. So Bunker's turn is over, and we are moving back over to Wraith. So I am going to go back into her personal life form, and we are over here at Arcane Wonders Laboratories. So what we're going to do is we are going to resolve Legacy's Justice card, or attempt to. Okay, so what I ended up doing for her chauffeur limousine ability is I moved Bunker and Legacy into the North Park Zoo location, because that's where I'm heading with Wraith, and that's where I want her to be at the end of her turn. That way they're all in that same location. That way when Legacy's turn comes up, I can resolve this Justice card here, Freedom 5 Unite, which requires all 3 of them to be in the same location. So we're going to flip over to hero mode, and we are going to use this ability here called From the Shadows. If you recall earlier, I used that. It does require an action token in order to use this ability. We're going to move and remove a henchman in the location that you move into. So we removed that henchman. I have another From the Shadows, so we're going to perform that again. Use an action token to go into location number 12, and we are going to remove this yellow henchman over here. The next action we're going to take is we're going to use this utility belt card, and it does require an action in order to resolve this card. It says either move to any location with an Anarchy, Bystander, or Mastermind token, or search your ability deck for any card and add it to your hand. Before we do that, we are going to resolve interact action. And we are going to interact with this bystander right here. So we are going to draw a bystander card. And this bystander card actually has a penalty on it. It says at the end of your turn, you must discard one special card if able. All right, so we keep that to the side. So we are going to resolve the utility belt card. So we are going to use an action in order to resolve this. And we are going to travel over to location number 9, which is the North Park Zoo, where everybody else is at. And we're going to try to remove this Mastermind token. So we would have to remove those henchmen in order to resolve the Mastermind token at that location. However, Wraith does have an ability here called Smoke Bomb. It says play during your hero phase. Interact with a token in your location, ignoring enemies and other tokens present. And you're going to roll +1 die on all attribute tests that you make. So this one does not have an action token on it, so it does not require an action token. However, it does still require for you to interact with that token. So we are going to use an action token in order to interact with this Mastermind token. And we reveal the 1. So we're going to take a look at the book and see. All right, so that one is Blade Battalion. It says Baron Blade's henchmen are entrenched in the city. Everywhere you turn, another one springs from the shadows. And it says here, place henchmen. Usually it'll tell you briefly what you're going to be doing for this particular event. It says add henchmen of any color to your location until there are 3 henchmen present. Reminder, during your villain phase, you suffer 1 damage per henchman in your location. So we're gonna add henchmen of any color to my location until there are 3 present. So currently there are 2 in that location that I'm in. So we're gonna add 1 more right there. So now there's 3. And that's basically all you're gonna do with that particular event. All right, so we shuffled that. And over here, that now completes, not on my watch. We actually cannot resolve the card yet. We have no action tokens left. So we have to wait until her next turn in order to resolve that. So that ends Wraith's turn. And we are going to move over to the villain phase. There are 3 henchmen in Wraith's location, which would attack her for 3 damage. However, she does have stealth, which means they do not attack her during the villain phase of the turn. So we're just going to draw our 2 cards, Smoke Bomb and Grappling Hook. Okay. Now this one here, Kyle Wood says at the end of your turn, you must discard 1 special card if able, and there are no special cards here. We are going to draw a scheme card. This card is asking for 1 green henchman on 26, right there, as well as a bystander token. So we're going to put a bystander token. Then 2 yellow henchmen on 21. So 21 is now filled with 3 henchmen. And then 1 red henchman on number 10. And that is over here. We're going to ignore the villain movement, of course. And then it says here, each hero may move up to 2 locations. So we are not going to resolve that, because we want these 3 in the same location for Legacy's turn. So it's Legacy's turn. We're going to flip over to Paul Parsons and Sense Danger. All right, so this one is asking to place a Mastermind token. So I don't like that one. I'm just going to discard it. Now we are going to resolve the Freedom 5 Unite Justice card here. It says here, we need to put our heads together. While all heroes are at the same location, take a Justice action and choose a color. So Justice actions must be resolved in hero form. So we're going to flip over to hero form. All right, so we are in hero form with Legacy. Okay, each hero may discard up to 2 ability cards of that color. So we're going to choose a color, and then each hero may discard up to 2 ability cards of that color. If the number of cards discarded exceeds the number of heroes, resolve this card. So there are 3 heroes. We have to discard 4 of those cards in order to resolve that. So we're going to look at our deck, we're going to look at our hands, and we're going to determine which color we're going to use, and we're going to determine between the 3 heroes 4 cards that are going to get discarded. So I chose yellow as the color, and between the 3 heroes here, we have to discard 4 of those cards. So I'm going to discard 1 smoke bomb, 2 smoke bombs, 3 smoke bombs from Wraith's hand, and I will also discard 1 of these adhesive foam grenades from Bunker. So that equals out to exceeding the number of heroes, which resolves this card. Okay, so we're going to resolve that card, and that goes into your Justice rewards. So that reward says each hero may immediately search their ability deck for any card and add it to their hand, then shuffle their deck, then flip this reward. I went through Wraith's deck and I picked out Utility Belt. She didn't really have much to work with. Then for Legacy, I just picked out a Surge of Strength, and I picked out an Omniblast for Bunker. All right, so once you resolve this, you're gonna flip the reward, and it just stays in your rewards area until you need to use it, and that will be discussed in the future when we're at that point. All right, and that did require an action in order for him to resolve that Justice card. So after you resolve a Justice card, you immediately draw another one from the Justice pile on the HQ board. And this one says Smuggling Crackdown, which basically means to defeat 5 red henchmen. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we are going to spend an action token to bolster allies. That's going to require an action token. So everybody is going to draw 1 card. We got Grappling Hook for Wraith. We have Fortitude for Legacy. And we have Critical Overload for Bunker. So one thing to keep in mind while you're going through the paces of your turn with your heroes is to keep in mind how many cards you have in your hand. You can have no more than 12 by the end of your turn. Anything that exceeds 12 cards has to be discarded. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that before I move on to my next turn, or I'm sorry, my next action, which is going to be Flight. This says move yourself and up to 1 other hero in your location to any location. So I am going to use an action token to perform this. And I am going to move Legacy by himself over to the central bridge location number 16. And we're going to attempt to remove the henchman and rescue that bystander there. So that's going to require an action to make an attack roll. And we're going to get our 1 dice for the 1 henchman, as well as the legacy dice, and we're going to roll it. And we failed. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use a Surge of Strength. This does not cost any action tokens to use. And basically what that says is play after you roll dice to add +1 to each dice you roll. So what that essentially is going to do is change these 2s into 3s, which are both now successes. His body attribute is 3+. I got a 3+ on both dice. I only needed 1 to remove the henchman. So we're going to remove the henchman, and then we're going to rescue this bystander by using an action for the interact. All right, so the bystander that we rescued is Ben Lifson, and this is another penalty bystander. Unfortunately, it says roll 3 dice to test mind or spirit. For each failure, you're going to suffer 1 damage. I don't like this guy. So we're going to roll the 3 dice to either test mind or spirit, and our mind and spirit attributes are both 4+, so it really doesn't matter which one we test. We're going to test mind, and we're going to try to get a 4+, and for each failure, we're going to get a damage. And we actually rolled a 5, and a 6, so we actually take no damage for that card. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cash in, because we now have 2 bystander icons. We're going to cash in these 2 bystanders to get a special. And we drew Hero's Intuition. Play when a scheme card is drawn, move to any location listed on it, then discard it without resolving it. So this will pretty much cancel out a scheme card. And I think we're going to do that now. So during the villain phase, when a scheme card is drawn, we're going to use that card. So that's the trigger that we're looking for. So we're going over here. There are no henchmen, so he will take no damage. We're going to draw 2 cards. 1, 2. Okay. And then we're going to draw from the scheme deck. Okay, so Hero's Intuition says play when a scheme card is drawn, move to any location listed on it, then discard it without resolving it. So we're going to use Hero's Intuition. We're going to discard it in order to move to any location listed on this card that we just drew. So we'll go ahead over to location number 4 over here. All right, and we would discard the card without resolving it. So we're not resolving this card at all. And that would be the end of Legacy's turn, and we're going to move over to Bunker. Okay, so Bunker, we're going to go into his personal life mode, and we will use his ability. Once per turn, choose 1 hero to draw 3 ability cards and keep all cards of 1 color. You may move to any location matching the color that they choose. So I believe what we're going to do is we're going to allow Wraith to draw those 3 cards. So she got From the Shadows, she got another utility belt, and grappling hook. So we will keep utility belt, and we will discard the other two. All right, back to Bunker. We're gonna flip over to his hero form. So the first action we're going to take is we are going to use full throttle, and that is going to cost an action token in order to complete. So we will use an action token to play full throttle, draw 3 ability cards. And we got satellite intel, we got critical overload, and we got another satellite intel. Then we are going to take another action to move. And we are going to move into location number 10 with these 2 red henchmen, because all we need is the red henchman in order to complete this. So we're going to use the Omni Blast, excuse me, since we have 2 of those. And if you don't already know from earlier, you got to discard 1 other Omni Blast card to remove all henchmen from your location and deal 1 damage to a villain there. The purpose for this is to complete this Justice card here. So we're going to remove those henchmen. All right. And that completes this part of the Night Patrol card. It does say to take a Justice action in any location to resolve the card. So we're going to use another action token in order to resolve this card. So the card is now resolved. You put all the henchmen back where they belong in their respective pools to the side. This goes into your Justice rewards, and you draw another Justice card. So we have 2 out of the 3 Justice cards completed. The only other one is not on my watch, and that's going to be completed after we're finished here with Bunker's turn. Okay, so now that Bunker got rid of those henchmen and completed the Night Patrol Justice card, there's not really much he can do from here. Anywhere he goes will basically waste out his movement and his action tokens before he can even do anything. So we're not going to move him. We're going to use Wraith to move him on her turn with her chauffeured limousine ability. So we're going to refresh all of our tokens. And there are currently no henchmen at that location. We're going to draw our 2 cards. We got satellite intel and another Omni Blast. Okay. And then we are going to draw a scheme card. All right. So this is the card that we drew. It's requiring a yellow henchman at location 13. So we did that. Then we also want a mastermind token at location 13. Okay. Then the next step is 2 green henchmen at location number 22. All right, that one just filled up to 3, so we don't want it to exceed 3 or it will overflow. And then the last step here is 1 blue henchman on number 2. So we're gonna go ahead and put that henchman over here at number 2, Valdez Theater. All right. And now the last step here is showing on the move. Each hero may move up to 2 locations. I'm not going to use that once again because Wraith's ability is much better. And we're going to get right on over to Wraith. She's going to go into her personal life form, and we're going to go right into her chauffeured limousine ability, and we're going to move these characters. So I'm going to place Wraith in location number 22, where we just filled up with 3 green henchmen. I am going to place Bunker back into location number 9, and I will place Legacy on location 15. So I will have Legacy in location 15, so that way he can draw his 3 cards at the beginning of his turn during his personal life. Being that he is over at Freedom Tower, he will be able to use that ability. All right, guys, so I decided instead of the Meg Convention Center that I would just set her up at Montgomery Industries. That way we can utilize her personal life ability. Recover Montgomery Industries R&D once per turn. If at Hero HQ or Montgomery Industries, draw 5 ability cards and then choose 1 color to keep, discard the rest. Okay, so we drew a couple of blue cards and we discarded the rest. That emptied out her deck. So we shuffled everything back and then we made a new deck for the Wraith. I want to turn your attention over to Mr. Kyle Woods over here. We are going to cash in his icons for a special. And this special is buying time. Play on your turn, reduce the mastermind track by -1. All right. And we are going to begin with our first action, which is to resolve this justice card here. It says when you have 2 of the mastermind tokens, take a justice action in any location to resolve this card. So if you remember, in order to resolve a justice action, you need to be in hero form to resolve it. So we're going to go into hero form and we are going to use an action token in order to resolve a justice action. So this goes away. All right, and then we are going to place this into the justice rewards area, face up. And we are going to draw another justice card from the justice pile. All right, so we have completed the first chapter of this scenario. We completed all 3 of the justice cards that we initially got. So we are going to now move on to the next chapter of this scenario. Okay, so immediately it tells you some of the steps that you want to take once you proceed to another chapter. Usually they'll be in these red boxes here. Excuse me. So the first one here says emergent threats. Place Ermine on South Island Freedom number 26 and Proletariat on Chatham Country Club number 6. In each villain's location, place 1 anarchy token of their color and add henchmen of their color until there are 3 henchmen present. Placing a new villain in the city does not activate their movement ability. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to place Ermine on 26 and then Proletariat on number 6. All right, so we have Ermine on the South Island Free Dome number 26. And then we have Proletariat at the Chatham Country Club number 6. So it did also require that we fill up the location until we get 3 henchmen, but he already has 3 henchmen there. And over here there are 2 henchmen where Ermine is, so we're going to add 1 to make it 3. Those are the instructions that they want us to follow. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add an anarchy token of their color in each of those locations. So Ermine is going to get hers and Proletariat is going to get his over there. For the other parts of the instructions here, it does say for Ermine's movement, when a scheme card would move the yellow villain, you're going to move Ermine to the indicated location. Instead of placing a green anarchy token, you're going to place one of any color. For Proletariat, the same is going to apply when a red villain is moved. So when that occurs, I'll show you how that works. So the Chapter 2 objective is defeat any one villain. So I do want to turn your attention to this because I know when I first started, this got a little confusing for me. So it asks you to defeat any one villain, and then sometimes you're going to run into a situation where the very next chapter it'll tell you to defeat all villains. It does not mean to place any defeated villains that you already defeated back on the board to defeat all of them all over again. You're just going to defeat the remaining villains on the board. So just keep that in mind because the wording is a little confusing, but yeah, it took me a little bit to understand that. I do want to turn your attention to this part of the page now. You will notice it will show that you have justice rewards on this page of your chapters from here on out. This is going to be a regular thing. So really pay attention to these because when you have justice rewards, for example, I have 2 with Legacy, I have 1 here with the Wraith, and I have 1 with Bunker. You can actually cash these in to perform whatever it says. For example, here, I would be able to discard a Justice card from my reward pile to either roll 2 dice when resolving an Anarchy or Mastermind token, or roll +1 dice when fighting a villain. And I'll show you guys how that actually works when we get there. So the end of turn villain phase here for this chapter, Chapter 2, says each henchman in your location deals 1 damage to you. Nothing changed there. You're still going to draw 2 ability cards. But now for step 3, you draw 1 scheme card and fully resolve it, whether the event is good or bad. So we're not looking for the good ones anymore. We're fully resolving these cards. Okay, so whether it's a green good or a red bad, we're still going to resolve the final step on each of those cards. Usually in the second chapter, things start escalating with the game and will get a little bit more difficult. So this is where you kind of want to start getting a sense of urgency and completing the tasks that they ask you to as soon as possible. So with that said, when you complete a chapter, you continue on as normal. So we did 1 action with the Wraith, so we're going to continue with Wraith's turn. Therefore, I do have some green cards in my hand. I don't think I have enough that I feel comfortable enough to attack Ermine yet, however. We're going to go through a couple more turns before we feel comfortable enough attacking the villains here. So for our next action, we're going to spend an action token to roll an attack, and we are going to use the micro-targeting computer. It says play at any time you are in hero mode, roll an attack on all henchmen in an adjacent location, and then add +1 to each die. So we did use an action token in order to roll the attack, and we are going to attempt to attack these 3 henchmen in the adjacent location from Wraith. And we're gonna use our 3 mind colored dice, and we're gonna add +1 to each die result. Okay, so we got a 5, a 4, and a 1. So this one's gonna turn into a 2. the 4 will turn into a 5, and the 5 will turn into a 6, which still just gives us 2 successes there. So that didn't work entirely as planned. So we're going to remove 2 of these henchmen. And then what we're going to do is, I believe I have an Out of the Shadows. All right, I do have a From the Shadows in my hand, so we're going to use this card and spend an action token to go into this location from Montgomery Industries and remove that henchman. We're going to use our next action token to interact with this Anarchy token. So we will remove it and put it back in the Anarchy token pile. And we're going to look for a green Anarchy card. All right, so this is what we drew. It says here, drugs are flooding the streets, so labs must be found and shut down. Roll 5 dice to test mind or body. And at the very least, we need 2 to 3 successes. At the very most, 4 or higher, which is what we want. So let's go ahead and grab 5 green dice and roll them and see what we get. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 successes. So we actually got 5. So all of these were successes. So that means we're going to follow the yellow one here where it says 4 successes, mind only. Pay very close attention to that because it requires that those specific dice, or that specific test for that matter, is done in order for this one to be completed. So if we were to roll to test body, this would not have worked. All right, so it says here, you find and destroy the drug labs, arresting most of those involved. Remove 4 green henchmen from any location. And right away, I see here, location 22 has 3, so we're going to remove 3 of those. And 1 from number 8. And that will be our 4 henchmen that we removed as a result of this card. And then there is a bystander at this location. We're going to use our last action token to rescue that bystander. Let's take a look and see who we got. We have Roy Canaday, another penalty. It says exhaust 1 action token while you play a board game. If you have none left, end your turn. So we're going to end our turn right here as a result of that penalty. So we're going to refresh our tokens. We're going to put this back in the bystander pile. And then we are going to draw our 2 cards because there are no henchmen at that location. So here's 1 from the shadows, and 2, we got Smoke Bomb. Now we will draw the scheme card. And this scheme card is showing that it wants 1 blue henchman at 18 over here. And then a mastermind token in that location as well. So we're going to throw a mastermind token there. Then we want 2 red henchmen at 1, which brings that to 3 henchmen over there. Okay, and then the last one is showing 1 henchman at 28, a yellow one, as well as moving the yellow villain to 28, which I believe is Ermine, as per the chapter 2 specific rules. So here it is. When a scheme card would move the yellow villain, you're going to move Ermine to the indicated location. Instead of placing a green Anarchy token, place one of any color. So we are going to move Ermine over to location number 28 and place an Anarchy
token of any color there, as well as performing her movement ability. Okay, so Ermine is at number 26. She is going to move over to 28. We're going to place an Anarchy token of any color. So we're going to place a green one over here in her location. And now I want to turn your attention over to her villain card. It says, when Ermine moves, place one green Anarchy token and deal 2 damage to each hero in her destination. So it does say when you place an Anarchy token, you're going to place one of any color. So there are no heroes in her destination, so nobody's going to get 2 damage. Then all heroes in the city must roll 2 dice to test mind. Each hero that rolls no successes discards 1 random ability card. So what that means is there are currently 3 heroes in the city, obviously. So we are each going to test mind. And if we roll no successes, then we would discard 1 random ability card. So this is going to be for Wraith. Her mind attribute again is 3+. So we got a success. So this will not apply to Wraith. She does not have to discard a card. Legacy, he has an attribute of 4+ on his mind. So we need a 4 or higher on at least one of these. And we got a 6. I would have been able to roll the legacy dice as well because this is testing an attribute and I am in hero form. All right, then we have Bunker, who also has a 4+ on his mind. So let's take a look and see if we can get at least 1 4+. And we did, we got a 6. So nobody is going to discard any cards. And that's how you resolve a villain's movement ability. So we completed that part. Now we're going to complete the 4th step here, which says if there are 3 or fewer mastermind tokens in the city, choose a villain or mastermind and place one on their location. Currently, there are 1, 2, 3 mastermind tokens there. So we are going to place a mastermind token on the location where the villain is. Okay, because she is the only villain in the city right now. All right, so now that we have completed this step here, that will end Wraith's turn, and we're going to move over to Legacy. All right, so we're going to flip over to his personal life form, and we're going to sense danger. So let's take a look. This one has a bad event at the end, so we're going to discard it. All right. Then since we are at location number 15, as I said before, I wanted to utilize that opportunity to use his ability there. Once per turn, if at HQ number 15, you're going to draw 3 ability cards. So we're going to draw our 3. We got Flight, we have Bolster Allies, and we have Bolster Ally. And that does require an action token in order to do. The next step that we're going to take is we're going to flip over to our hero form, and we are going to make an attack immediately using our Flying Smash ability card. So it's not necessarily an attack, but it is an attack. I'll explain why right now. So we're going to use an action token in order to perform this ability. And Flying Smash says, move to any location, remove all henchmen, and deal 1 damage to each villain and other hero there. Place 1 Anarchy token of your choice there as well. So we're going to take Legacy over here, and he's going to come in for a Flying Smash onto this location. So we're going to remove all the henchmen in this location. We're going to deal 1 damage to the villain So Ermine is going to take a damage. Sorry for the glare. And then we're going to add an Anarchy token of any color to this location. So we're going to add a purple one to that location. Okay. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to interact with that purple token. So put that back into the purple pile and spend an action token in order to interact with it. And we are going to draw a red Anarchy token, a red Anarchy card, because purple is any color. Okay. And it says a sniper on top of a building is using citizens for target practice. We're going to roll 5 dice to test body, and we're looking for 3 successes. All right, so 5 dice to test body, and we're going to bring in the legacy die for this attribute test, and this should be fairly easy. Okay, so we got plenty of successes. All of them are successes. So this says here, you subdue the sniper and turn him over to the police. Draw 1 special card. So we're going to draw a special card. Remember, the special card is always going to go to the leftmost slot. And this one is called Ambush. Play when a villain would move. Move to that villain's current location, cancel their movement, and deal 1 damage to them. So we do have 2 more actions that we can use. I am going to use one of them in order to interact with the Mastermind token in this location. So let's take a look. This one is a 5. And the 5 says, justice is blind. Take damage. Your tunnel vision pursuit of the puppet master pulling the strings behind these villains leaves you vulnerable to the dangers at hand. Advance the Mastermind track +1 and suffer 4 damage. Any number of heroes may discard ability cards to block 1 damage per card discarded. So we're going to discard 4 ability cards to block these incoming damage of 4 damage, unless we have his Fortitude card, which we do. So this one says, play when you would suffer damage, block all damage. So we're going to use Fortitude to block all damage. Now, if it was unblockable damage, I would not be able to use that card. But it does not say here that that damage is unblockable. Usually, when damage is unblockable, it will say suffer 4 unblockable damage, but it does not. So we're going to advance the Mastermind track +1. So let's go ahead and advance the Mastermind track +1. All right. And that resolves this Mastermind token. So we're going to go ahead and place that back on the pile, and we're going to shuffle it up a little bit. All right. And we have one more action that we could take. Legacy's last action, I am going to bolster allies. I will use the action token in order to utilize this card. And each hero may heal 1 damage or draw 1 ability card. So we're going to draw our cards. We got a grappling hook, Fortitude again for Legacy, and then Critical Overload for Bunker. Okay, and that is the end of Legacy's turn. So we will refresh. We'll draw our 2 cards because there's no henchman at that location. We got Surge of Strength and Inspiring Presence. And then we're going to draw our scheme card. All right, so this one here, it says green on 3 with a Mastermind token. And this is why it's important to clear those mastermind tokens as much as possible, because if you don't, they tend to get tossed out there pretty quickly over time. Okay, so the next one is 2 red on 7. So far, we're lucky enough to not get any overflows. We got 3 on each of those locations though. So we're gonna definitely need to clean that up a little bit. And then the last one is showing blue henchman to 18. And we're also moving the blue villain to 18. So right there is 1 blue henchman, and then we're gonna move the villain over here to 18, and then we're gonna refer to Proletariat's movement ability, which says when Proletariat moves, place 1 blue anarchy token and deal 2 damage to each hero in his destination. There are no heroes in his destination. We are going to place the blue anarchy token over here. Okay. And then each hero in the city must roll 2 dice to test spirit. If the total number of successes is less than the number of heroes, place 1 blue or purple anarchy token in Proletariat's destination. When I first started playing this game and learning it, this one confused me a little bit. So I'm going to show you what exactly they mean. So they want you to roll dice for each hero. Each hero is going to roll 2 dice, and collectively the total number of successes would have to be more than the number of heroes. If not, you're going to place 1 blue or purple anarchy token in Proletariat's destination. Effectively, this is raising his this is called durability, or his life total. So he currently has 5, but he will get +1 durability for each blue and purple anarchy token in the city. So these are essentially him multiplying. So we're gonna go ahead and resolve this. So spirit for Wraith is a 4+. We're gonna roll the 2 dice for Wraith. She got a 1 and a 4. We're gonna roll 2 dice for Legacy at a 4+. He got a 3 and a 5. And then we will roll our 2 dice for Bunker. I ran out of blue dice, so one of them is gonna be yellow. All right, so we got 2 5s. So we were effectively able to avoid him placing blue or purple anarchy token in his destination, an additional one, because he is still supposed to place 1, which we already did. So we have a success here, a 4. We have 1 success here, a 5. And then for Bunker, we have 2 successes. So that totals out to 4, which is more than the total amount of heroes that we're using to play today. All right, so back to this card. The next step would be the rapid healing. Each hero may either heal 1 damage or draw 1 ability card. So we're gonna draw a card for each hero because none of us have any damage yet. Okay, everybody drew their card. All right, so it's Bunker's turn now. We are going to flip over to his personal life side, and we will use his ability to have a hero draw 3 ability cards and keep all of the cards of 1 color. And I may move to any location matching the color they choose. So we're gonna go ahead and allow Wraith to draw those cards. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to keep the red because we want that combat prowess card, and I'm going to show you why shortly. once we attack the villains. That card right there is very crucial to have. All right, back to Bunker's turn. So she drew red and she discarded the blue. So we're going to move over here with Bunker to the red location. Now that we are on the red location, we're going to flip over to hero mode, and we are going to use one of these full throttle to draw 3 ability cards. That's going to cost an action token. So we got another full throttle. We got another critical overload. And we got a satellite intel. I'm going to use an action token here. He has an ability card that we currently have in hand right now. I just need to find it right here. That ability card is called Adhesive Foam Grenade. It says remove 1 Anarchy or Mastermind token from your location. So we're gonna go ahead and do that at this location and remove this Mastermind token with the Foam Grenade. Our next move is we're going to use Satellite Intel. And basically what that is essentially Legacy's ability that he uses during his personal life, the Sense Danger. We're gonna go ahead and look at a scheme card and either keep it or discard it. I don't like the Mastermind token there, so we're gonna discard it and hope that we're getting a Justice Serves the Night card next. That's the game plan. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go full throttle again. So we're gonna spend another action token to draw 3 more cards. We got another full throttle, another full throttle, and then we ran out of cards, so we're gonna shuffle up and create a new deck. Okay, so we drew this as our last card from full throttle. So we got our 3 cards, we got another Omni Blast, so we have 2 Omni Blast cards now. And we'll be able to use that ability card. We are going to save that to start hitting the villains with. So we have 2 actions left. I do have a couple more of these cards in hand, so I'm going to use another Satellite Intel and look at another card at the top of the scheme deck, and we're going to discard this one too. That once again does not cost any action tokens. You can actually use that as a free action. Since we're over here at this location and there are 3 henchmen there, we're going to roll 3 dice and test body to try to get rid of those henchmen. If we at least get rid of 2 of those 3, effectively it would remove all 3 with Bunker's ability. All right, so we got rid of 1. We got rid of 1. The other 2 were failures. We have to use an action token for that. So we're gonna remove 1. And we'll try again. Now with 2 dice, since there are 2 henchmen left. And we failed that one. That's the end of our turn. And there are currently 2 henchmen in this location. They're both going to attempt to deal damage to Bunker. However, Bunker has the armor plating ability that says each time you suffer damage, block 1 damage and deal 1 damage to the villain or henchman that attacked you. Once again, I am going to play it so that I get 1 damage. However, one of these guys are going to get that damage deflected. Although there is a very strong possibility that this is supposed to remove everyone and avoid the damage. So I'm going to take that damage. And what do we got? All right, so we have placed an action token on this damage. So until we heal this damage, we are now at 4 actions per turn with Bunker. All right, so we're gonna draw 2 cards. We got Snapshot Missiles, and we got Full Throttle. And the last part of the villain phase is the Scheme card, of course. So it is asking for a green on 20. Right there. And we're also going to place a Mastermind token on that location. It wants 2 yellow on 13. All right. So that location is now filled up as well. If there is an overflow on any one of those 3 locations, it could be a little troublesome. So we definitely need to get those cleaned up. And then the last one here says move a villain of your choice to Freedom Tower. Okay, so I want to focus your attention over to this card here that says Ambush. Play when a villain would move to that villain's current location, cancel their movement, and deal 1 damage to them. So I'm going to use this special card. I'm going to discard it. So it is going to effectively cancel out Ermine's movement. And we are also going to deal 1 damage to her. So she now has 2 damage on her as a result of that card. Then we're going to go to the next step here where it says the active hero must draw a personal task card. So we're going to draw this card and we're going to place it in between the 2 leftmost special card slots. That actually will prevent Bunker from drawing any special cards. Whenever that occurs, we just ignore that step. All right, moving back over to the Wraith, we're going to flip over to her personal life. And we are going to use her Chauffeured Limousine ability. I definitely want Bunker to start taking care of some of these henchmen over here because it is getting a little crowded. I am then going to place Wraith back at Montgomery Industries, and I'm going to place Legacy on location 7 to clear out those henchmen as well. All right, so now that we have everybody positioned where we want them, we are going to use her personal life ability, the Montgomery Industries R&D, and draw 5 ability cards. Choose 1 color to keep, discard the rest. We decided to just keep the utility belt, and we discarded the remaining 4. The reason is we are going to make an attack on Ermine and try to defeat her. At this point in the game, I believe that we have enough cards that we can commit in order to defeat Ermine with Wraith by herself. All right, so we're going to flip over to hero form, and we're going to spend an action token in order to move over to Ermine's location right here at the International Airport, and we're going to perform an attack on Ermine. Now, I already have this set up. So I am committing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice to this attack with Wraith. And I am also using Combat Prowess, which says play when any hero in your location attacks a non-mastermind villain. You're going to cancel their defense or counter strike ability. So we're going to move on over here, and we're going to take a look at their defense and counter strike ability and see which one we want to deactivate. Her defense says subtle diversion. When a hero rolls an attack on Ermine, if they have 4 or fewer ability cards left in hand, Ermine is going to block 1 damage. So we're going to look and see if we have 4 or fewer ability cards. Obviously we do not. So canceling out that that ability is not going to help us because she's not going to be able to block any damage after we perform this attack. So her counter strike says, after all attacks are rolled, each attacking hero suffers 3 damage. Each of them may discard up to 3 random ability cards to block 1 damage per card discarded. And we are going to deactivate her counter strike as a result of this, in hopes that we are able to defeat her all in one shot here. So that way her after attack does not activate, because if she does not get defeated, this is going to activate, and then she'll be able to heal damage and move to another random location. So she has 7 durability, and we already dealt 2 damage, so we are going to need 5 more damage in order to defeat Ermine. We have 7 dice from our cards. We have the combat prowess to deactivate her counter strike, and we are going to use this card here, buying time, to add another dice to this roll. So we'll place that right there. So we have a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dice. We also have this justice reward here that we will also use, which will add another dice to that roll. So looking over here at the justice reward section, it does say you may discard a justice card from your reward pile to roll +1 die when fighting a villain. So we're going to have 9 dice in total to roll against Ermine, and we're hoping that we can get at least 5 successes. We're going to be testing mind in order to fight her. So we're going to roll those dice now. All right, and this is the roll. Oops, I flipped that over. That was a 1. That was a failure. All right, so we have 1 success. We have 2 successes. We have 3 successes. So if we do not have any way to modify this, then we are only doing 3 damage to Ermine. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus our attention over to Legacy's hand. He has an ability card called Inspiring Presence, and we are going to use that. It says play after another hero. Let's see if this focuses. Play after another hero rolls dice, they may re-roll all their dice. This does not require an action token or anything like that, so we can use that as a free action to re-roll all of those dice and hope for a better result. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's see what we got now. We have 1 success. We have 2 successes, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. We have 6 successes on this attack. A 3, a 6, a 6, a 5, a 5, and a 4. So we will defeat the villain, Ermine. She does still get to use her counter strike and her defense. However, her defense says when a hero rolls an attack on Ermine, if they have 4 or fewer ability cards left in hand, she would block 1 damage. And we do not have 4 or fewer ability cards left in the hand. So we have more than that. So she will not be able to use that ability. And then her counter strike says after all attacks are rolled, each attacking hero suffers 3 damage. Each of them may discard up to 3 random ability cards to block 1 damage per card discarded. We did deactivate that using combat prowess, so she is not able to use her counter strike. And we have defeated Ermine. So what's going to happen is we will remove her from the game. So she gets removed from the game. damage tokens go back to the general token pile, and you will flip her over to her defeated side, and you will take 2 rewards. So attacking heroes may take 2 rewards. They must be different rewards. We'll get into that very shortly. I just need to discard these cards here. Okay, so all the cards that you used, you want to discard them. Put all your dice back. Okay, all the cards are discarded. We're going to move over to her defeated side rewards. You have a choice to take 2 of them, and I am going to choose the bottom 2 there. Draw 2 special cards. An attacking hero chooses 1 to keep and discards the other. So we're going to draw 2 special cards. Let's take a look. We have Staunch Resolve. Play at any time. Heal all damage from yourself and up to 2 other heroes in your location. Or we have Team Up. Play at any time. Choose any 1 location and move any number of heroes there. And we're going to keep this one here and place it in the special slot because this is what we're going to use in order to defeat Proletariat to complete the scenario. So we're going to discard the Staunch Resolve, and we're going to move on to the next reward. The next reward says draw 2 Justice cards. Each card may be added to an attacking hero's rewards pile face up. So we're going to draw 2 of these and add them to our reward pile face up. All right, so this completes the chapter 2 objective, and that is to defeat any villain. So we are going to move forward to chapter 3 now. And chapter 3, as I stated earlier in the video, it now says defeat all villains. So we're going to go ahead and finish this scenario by defeating Proletariat. He's the last villain standing. So we need to take him down, and that will complete the scenario. Okay. So the Justice Rewards section is showing here. You may discard a Justice card from your rewards pile to roll +2 dice when fighting a villain. So we're going to keep that in mind as well moving forward. The end of turn effects are going to change again. So the first 2 steps, of course, are going to remain the same. However, the third step does say draw 1 scheme card and resolve steps 1 through 3. And then only resolve the event if it is bad now. So we're not resolving any good events. We're resolving only bad events. So that's what we're doing for that. And then over here, it says when a scheme card would move a villain that is not in the game or has been defeated, choose a villain in the city and move them to the indicated location. Instead of placing an anarchy token of their color, place one of any color. So basically, now that Ermine is out, anything that is going to move Ermine is also going to move Proletariat. Back to Wraith. Her turn still has 3 action tokens left. So we're going to use an action token to interact with the anarchy token, over here. And we are going to search for a green anarchy card. All right, and this anarchy card says police reports indicate that the local gangs are merging. Something terrible is stirring in the city. Roll 4 dice to test mind. So we're going to roll these 4 dice and try to get 3 or more successes. Okay. All right, so we rolled 2 successes out of 4. We are going to use another Inspiring Presence from Legacy. So he is going to allow her to re-roll those dice. And let's see if we can get a better result. All right, much better. So we got 4 successes on this. So it says on 3+ successes, you subdue the leaders and deliver their new recruits to the police. Remove any 5 henchmen from any location. We're gonna remove blues. So we're gonna remove 3 blue from this location. And then we'll remove 2 blue from this location for a total of 5 henchmen from any location. The reason is we want to clear those out so we can get those anarchy tokens resolved. The reason is because if we can clear those, we can bring him down to a manageable state with his health. But what we're going to do from here is we are going to use, we have a bunch of these cards, the grappling hook card, and this makes Wraith very mobile. So it says play during your hero phase, move 1 location. If you played at least 1 other grappling hook this turn, you may move +1 location. So we're going to use that. And she is going to move to 29. Then we're going to use the next one. This one says play during your hero phase, move 1 location. If you played at least 1 other grappling hook this turn, you may move +1 location. We did play 1 already, so we're gonna play that one and we're gonna move 2 locations. So 1, 2, that was the extra location. Now we're gonna use another one. It says grappling hook. We already know what that does, so we're going to play that to move 2 additional locations. 1 and 2 right there into the corner location here that has a henchman and an anarchy token. And over here we have 2 justice rewards in our justice rewards pile. One of them says flip this reward at any time to remove all henchmen and anarchy tokens from your location. So we're gonna flip that one. All right, and we're gonna remove the henchman that is in this location, as well as the anarchy token that is in this location. Okay, and we did all that without using any action tokens. We still have 2 grappling hooks left. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this grappling hook to get us over here to Chatham Wineries. And we're gonna try to remove that anarchy token, or resolve that anarchy token. So we're gonna spend an action to interact with that anarchy token. So that goes back into the blue pile. And it says here, flip this reward when you test spirit to roll 2 dice. So depending on what we get here, we're going to be using this to help us resolve it. All right. This is our card. It says some of the buildings in this neighborhood seem to have completely vanished into thin air. Roll 4 dice to test spirit or technology, and we want 3+ successes, at the very least 2 of them. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. 4 dice to test mind right there. We're gonna use this card, Vanishing Thieves, flip this reward for those 2 dice. So we're gonna get an extra 2 dice towards this. And we need at least 2 successes here. Okay, and we got absolutely none. We failed that miserably. Let's take a look and see if we still have any inspiring presence left from, okay, we have 2 left, it looks like. So we're gonna use Legacy's Inspiring Presence to re-roll those dice. Ooh. We got one success. One success. Okay, so do we have another one? I think we do. Yep. There's one more. One more inspiring presence. We're going to try it again. All right, that's much better. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes and 1 failure. All right, so 5 successes. It says for 3+ successes after much research, you return the buildings from a pocket dimension, reduce the mastermind track by -1. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna reduce the mastermind track back to the start. So we do have here a smoke bomb left, and I think we're going to use it to interact with the mastermind token here. In case there's anything that requires a dice roll, she'll be able to roll +1 dice on all attribute tests she makes with this interaction. So I'm going to use an action token to interact with the mastermind token. Let's see what number we get here. Number 4. Number 4 says, excuse me, interrogate specialists. You're going to roll 3 dice to test tech. It says those were not normal bullets being shot at you. 2+ successes confiscating the criminal's weapons. You discover a veritable armory of advanced gadgets. Draw 1 special card. On a failure, we're going to advance the mastermind track by 1 and place 1 yellow henchman in the location. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to roll 3 dice to test tech. And that's not one of her greatest attributes at all. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, okay. So we got 2 successes. Oh, we got 3. We got 3. So her tech attribute is 4+. We got 2 6s and a 4. So we succeeded on this. All right, so we're going to draw 1 special card as a result of that. So we'll draw a special. Team counseling. At any time, each hero may choose to discard any number of cards from their hand and draw that many ability cards. And I think we're going to do that now. So with Wraith, we're going to discard 2 and draw up 2. Okay, we got From the Shadows and Smoke Bomb, and she ran out of cards in her deck. So we're gonna shuffle up and create a new deck. Okay, we got a new deck. So the idea behind this is we're trying to get as many blue cards in our hands as possible, so that way we could take down Proletariat, hopefully in the next turn. So this is going to get discarded, and each hero may choose to discard any number of cards. So it's not just Wraith, it's each hero. So we're gonna go ahead and discard for Legacy now, and see if we can get some blues for Legacy. All right, those are the cards that we got for Legacy. I decided to discard 5. It emptied out my deck. I had to reshuffle my deck and create a new one. So we got 2 blue over here for Legacy, and we also have a Flying Smash, which is really good. All right, for Bunker, he had a bunch of cards in his hand. Those are still the ones that I decided to keep. I already had 2 in my hand. Omni Blasts. We ended up getting discarding 7 and getting 7 back. We got a bunch of blues here. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be attacking with Bunker, but we'll see. His attribute is really bad. All right, and I do have to remove this. All right, that finishes Wraith's turn. So what we're gonna do is Night Patrol it says here, flip this reward at the start of the villain phase to prevent the active hero from drawing scheme cards. We're going to flip that. So we are not going to draw any scheme cards for the Wraith villain phase. Okay, so she's going to draw her 2 cards. And that's what we got. Perfect. We got a combat prowess and a micro-targeting computer. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we can attack him now. And I think that's what we're going to do. So the scheme card does not get drawn. We're going to move over to Legacy's turn. And this should be the end of the game if we do this correctly. So, just in case this fails miserably, we're going to go into personal life mode and we're going to sense danger to see what's coming up next. He will be moving. This doesn't seem like such a terrible one, but we're going to go ahead and discard it in hopes that we get a Justice Rules the Night in case something goes terribly wrong with this attack. We are now going to flip into hero mode for Legacy, and we are going to spend an action token for that Flying Smash that we just drew. All right, so if you need to know, once again, it is going to have us move to any location, remove all henchmen, and deal 1 damage to each villain and other hero there. Place 1 Anarchy token of your choice there. So this not only damages the villain, it's going to damage Wraith as well. So we're going to take Legacy from over here, and he's going to come in and Flying Smash at this location. He will remove any henchmen at that location. He's going to deal 1 damage to Proletariat. So he gets the damage there. However, the bad part about it is he also is going to drop an Anarchy token of my choice. So I'm going to put a purple one out. So I took a damage off. Or I'm sorry, I took one of his durability off with a damage and essentially gave it right back by adding this Anarchy token. However, we're going to interact with it and get rid of it right after this is all resolved. So the last part of this is Wraith needs to get a damage as well. So we're going to give a damage to Wraith. Okay, so she has 2 action tokens that she is going to place on top of this damage. So you do that with those action tokens and place them on the damage. She is only going to have 3 actions if she doesn't get healed up. Okay, so now that we have done that, we're going to interact with this Anarchy token. So we're going to place it back into the Anarchy pile. And we're going to use an action token in order to interact with it. Now we're going to look for any color Anarchy card, which in my case, I'm going to look for a red one. Okay. All right, we're going to draw this red one. And it says, an actual dinosaur is rampaging down the street. There's no time. You can ask questions later. We're going to roll 4 dice to test body or tech. And in this case, our best stat is body. So we're going to roll those 4 dice. We're going to grab the legacy die for a total of 5 dice. And we're going to try to get 3 or more successes on this. All right, and we got nothing but successes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So this means that we are going to subdue the dinosaur and return it to the scientists at the zoo. We'll draw 1 special card. And that's a good thing. So we have to the rescue, play on your turn. If this focuses, move to the location of a bystander token, remove that token and draw a bystander card. We are actually going to use that to attack Proletariat. So since we removed that anarchy token, he no longer has any anarchy tokens on the board. All right, so scoping the board out, we can see that there are no anarchy tokens left on this board, which makes it very safe to make an attack on Proletariat. And I am going to actually use both Wraith and Legacy for this attack, which I don't think I will need both of them, but we're gonna give it a go with both of them. So we're going to bring out our cards that we're going to use. I have 2 blue cards here. Yep, 2 blue cards. So this is going to give me 2 dice. I'm going to use a Justice card because it will give me +2 dice, I believe. Let's take a look one more time. You may discard a Justice card from your rewards pile to roll +2 dice when fighting a villain. So this is going to give us 4 dice. All right, then we're going to use To the Rescue to give us another dice. So we now have 5 dice to work with. There should be no way that we do not defeat Proletariat, because I did save a bunch of these cards here, which is Surge of Strength. Play after you roll dice, add +1 to each die you roll. So we're gonna see if we defeat him with just Legacy. We are going to utilize Combat Prowess from the Wraith. It says play when any hero in your location attacks a non-mastermind villain. We're going to cancel out their defense or counter strike. So we'll go ahead and put that there to show that we're using it. Let's go ahead and focus on the defense and counter strike. It says here outnumber for his defense. When a hero rolls an attack on Proletariat, if they roll 3 or fewer dice, Proletariat is going to block 1 damage. We are currently rolling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice, so that will not count. It's not going to activate or trigger that defense. The counter strike says pile on. After all attacks are rolled, each attacking hero suffers 1 damage +1 per blue or purple anarchy token in the city. So we'll deactivate his counter strike because even if there aren't any anarchy tokens in the city, which there aren't, the attacking heroes are going to suffer 1 damage. So we're going to go ahead and deactivate the counter strike of Proletariat, and we're going to attempt to defeat him now. So we're rolling 5 dice. We're rolling 5 dice. We get the Legacy die as well. And we're testing Spirit, which is a 4 or higher. So let's go ahead and roll. Okay. So we have a failure, a failure, a failure, and we have 2 more failures. So here's what we're going to do. We have 1, 2, 3 surges of strength. So what Surge of Strength does, it is you play after you roll dice, add +1 to each die you rolled. So let's see if that makes it any more effective. If we use 1, let's use 1. That is going to change these 2 here to 4s. All right, so this will be a 4, and this would be a 4. And then it would change these to 2s. All right, so that's what we're looking like after 1 surge of strength. If we use the other 2, that would bring these to a 3, and these to a 5, and then the last one would bring it to 4s. So we'll use those, and now it brings us to 6 successes, and that defeats Proletariat. So by himself, Legacy was able to defeat Proletariat. His spirit stat is a 4+. So we have completed the scenario, and that is how you play out a scenario for Freedom 5, the board game. This is the opening scenario. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look over here. The chapter 3 objective is defeat all villains. We did that. So you would then move on over to the victory phase. And it asks you to open envelope number 1. One thing I do want to let you know, when you move to the next scenario, after you do this, I personally, this has I think 3 or 4 scenarios within the book. The chances of you completing one of these scenarios and going into another one in the same gaming session with you or your friends is probably going to be unlikely. You're going to have to probably pack everything back up unless you have a gaming room that is dedicated to gaming. In my case, I had to pack all this stuff up once I was done, put it away, and then bring it back onto the table when I wanted to play the next scenario. The next scenario is going to have some requirements, and I just want to check. I don't want to spoil anything. So looking at that next scenario, I believe it's actually scenario 3 that has some rules that you do want to carry over. Some of these scenarios are going to track damage, so just make sure if any of your characters have damage on them. For example, Bunker and Wraith both have a damage. I did not track their damage through the entire comic book, and then ran into a scenario that told me that I should do such and such if my hero is damaged. So just make sure that you're tracking that. Maybe they should have mentioned that during the process of playing out the tutorial, but they didn't. So I'm just mentioning that now for you. That way it's not confusing when you run into that. Also, this is where you would want to open up the envelopes and get your upgrades, just so that you are aware. When you get your upgrades, it says it's gonna have the upgrade with a number on the top right hand corner. In the rule book it says it's on the top left hand corner. I guess that's an oversight, but the number is on the top right hand corner. Those are your ability points. You're going to use those to spend for your characters, and you're just basically, for this first envelope, you're just replacing an ability that you currently have in your decks with another ability that has a slight upgrade to it. And you'll see when you open those envelopes. I'm not going to spoil anything, but from here, once again, I do want to thank you guys very much, whoever stood to the very end here with me. Thank you very much for watching my video. Once again, like and subscribe and comment below if I made any mistakes. and you spotted it, please let me know where I made those mistakes. I do feel like I have a good handle on the game, but you know, I don't know everything. So I would love to know if I made any mistakes during this playthrough. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will be playing another playthrough probably within the next week or so. Have a great one.